What is up, Carol here with Optimole. What I want to talk about today is lazy loading, and more specifically, how to lazy load images in WordPress properly. So yeah, lazy loading is a very interesting mechanism, very helpful mechanism. It basically makes the user experience much better when browsing websites and also helps reduce some of the bandwidth that's consumed from your server point of view. But what is it actually? So if you're not quite sure, it is really pretty simple. So the idea is that not all the images on any given website need to be loaded right away when the user first comes to a given page. So for example, here is a blog post of mine, and you can see two images, one of them in the background and part of the other one here at the bottom of the screen. And I also have additional images here in this blog post, but they don't need to be loaded right away because I'm not even looking at them yet, and loading images will consume server resources. So a better way would be to have them loaded when I need them. And I'm talking about, for example, those two images here, those coffee images. So unfortunately, this is not something that just works on its own. Lazy loading is a feature that you need to get for your website, and before you do, all the images on all your pages are just gonna be loaded the very second that a user comes to see a given page. And you can see that. So this is the inspector in Firefox, and it shows all the images that got loaded when I came to this page. Yeah, so there's a good handful of them. You can see the coffee images, the plant images, and altogether they are nearly 1.5 megabytes. So that's quite a lot, and we can optimize it, apart from enabling lazy loading. So yeah, how to enable lazy loading on WordPress. There are a couple of ways, but what I want to show you today is Optimole. Our plugin Optimole is gonna handle image optimization on your website, meaning it's gonna make your images smaller in disk space, not in the way that they appear on the site, but it's gonna help you save some disk space on your server. And also the plugin comes with a nice lazy loading feature, quite advanced one. So that's the official site. You can also get the plugin from wordpress.org, and then installing it is pretty easy. So just like with any plugin, just go into plugins, add new, in here put Optimole. Yeah, that is the one. Let's install, let's activate. And as soon as you activate the plugin, you're gonna see this screen. So what you do here is just put in your email, create an account, and Optimole is going to give you an API key that will allow you to connect your website with the Optimole service. Once you do that, you're going to see the main Optimole screen. And now enabling lazy loading with this plugin is very simple. It couldn't be simpler, really. Just go into settings, make sure that the main option enabling Optimole image handling is turned on, and that is basically it. From now on, Optimole is going to take care of your images, it's going to lazy load them, and also perform some really nice optimizations on them. But if you want to see what's going on with lazy loading exactly, you can go into advanced and then lazy load. And this is where you can tune up your lazy loading features specifically. So Optimole comes with its own smart lazy loading module, which improves on the native browser loading that you might find elsewhere. So let's see what's going on. So the first feature here, skip lazy loading for the first number of images. You can pick whatever number makes sense. I think that 2 for the design of this site is a good number. So your initial 2 images won't get lazy loaded. So let's look at my blog post once again. So the first 2 images are actually this image here in the background, and then the part of the other image that you can see here at the bottom. And the idea is that you don't really want to lazy load anything that is above default. Basically anything that the user is gonna see right as they come to the page. That's because lazy loading those images would impact the user experience significantly. Just imagine, you come to this page and you have to wait for the image to load additionally because it's been, part of lazy loading. And the same thing goes for this second image in here. So given that they are immediately in view, they also should be loaded immediately. And it's not just a problem of user experience. There's also something like largest contentful paint, or LCP. This is basically a metric that defines the time that's needed to load the largest content element on the page. And in many cases, those course, are gonna be some images indeed, because images, usually are the biggest elements on any given page. So if you try to lazy load whatever is at the top of your design, then you're just increasing this metric. And it's not only subtracting from the user experience, but it's also gonna lower what Google thinks of your website. So that is why we need this feature. Additionally, you can also choose to skip lazy loading images, all the images that are above default. And Optimole has a clever way of defining, what those images are. Basically, it depends on the device, and the browser that the user is using, but I'm gonna tell you about that in just a second. But you can pick both of those options just to make sure that whatever is at the top of your design doesn't get lazy loaded. Then the next thing is you can enable generic placeholder color. So the idea behind that is that some of your images might be big enough that lazy loading them will take its time anyway, and it also depends on the network conditions. So just in case the lazy loading mechanism doesn't fetch the image in time, then the user should still see something, they shouldn't see just a blank space. So this is where the placeholder comes into play. So there are a couple of options, but the fastest one really is just to use a generic placeholder color, and you can pick this color from the list in here. This is just a standard color picker, so just choose something that matches your brand. And then the best feature of Optimoles when it comes to lazy loading, in my point of view, is smart image scaling. So this is gonna automatically resize the image based on the device and viewport of the user. What I mean here is, for example, if I'm looking at this page on my mobile, I don't need to see the full size of the image in most cases, because I'm looking at it through a very, very small screen. So there's no point in wasting space and wasting bandwidth delivering me the full image. So Optimole is gonna scale the image in a smart way, and this is a huge improvement over the native browser loading, which doesn't come with that, and it can have significant impact on the data that's consumed by your website. And then lastly, you can also use CSS background lazy loading, which is great because some designs, like mine in here, also use images that are set in CSS backgrounds, and not all lazy loading mechanisms will be able to handle that. Optimole does, which is great. And finally, it also handles videos and iframes, which is another great addition. Let's save the changes and let's reload this page. Let's see what happens. So I have Optimole enabled. I do have the previous load sequence of images in here. And before I reload, just remember about a couple of things. So first off, we have 2 images in view right away, and we also have 2 more images here down the page. So let's reload this page, and what you're gonna see is that first of all, the size of the package has been reduced. We are now at around 350 kilobytes. It was much more than that. So what you're gonna see, for example, is that the 2 plant images have been loaded right away. We can see them, but the 2 coffee images are missing from the list. They haven't been loaded. That's because I haven't scrolled further down the page yet, so there's no need to fetch them. But watch what happens when I start scrolling. We have coffee 1 and we have coffee 2. So those images only got loaded when I was ready to see them. And this is exactly what lazy loading does. And another thing you can notice is that those images haven't only been lazy loaded. Optimole also optimized them. So the total size of all my images on this page is around 500 kilobytes now. It was, I think, 3 times that before I enabled Optimole. And the images look just as good. That's because they've been optimized for quality, and also they are now delivered in more modern formats. So those coffee images, for example, they were just standard JPEGs, but they have been loaded as WebP, as JXL, which are much more optimized in modern formats. So Optimole did all that basically automatically just because I selected this toggle in here to enable optimal image handling. And yeah, that is it. That is how you use Optimole. That is how you use lazy loading. That is how you do it with Optimole. So in short, just install the plugin, come here, enable the main image handling. And if you want to tinker with how lazy loading works specifically, you can go into advanced lazy load and see what's going on in here. But apart from that, that is it. Do let me know what you think. Don't forget to like, subscribe. There's a lot more content coming up. Check out Optimole, optimize your site, optimize your images, make them lazy load. And yeah, see you next time.